Welcome on in to the Fantasy Football Forge Week 12 waiver wire video. I am pleased to let you know... No, you know what? Let's just start this off with an apology on someone who I've had on this video a couple times. Might have recommended to a few people to start him. Might have started him myself. And that would be Juju Smith-Schuster. I would say I don't know what I was thinking, but I do know what I was thinking. I don't know what happened. I guess they thought differently there in Kansas City, and the rest of the world was on the same page as Kansas City. So, just a quick apology for Juju Smith-Schuster. You can drop him, I guess, at this point. So, that brings us to, on the screen right now, you are seeing the injury follow-up. There could be a few guys missing from this list. Feel free to mention if you notice too, and I can always get them added. You can find this up on the website, www.theffforge.com, this whole sheet that we're going to be going through, which has my top picks for each waiver wire position, which we will, of course, be going through in this video. You can also find me live tonight on YouTube at about 6:37, I can't remember what time, I think it did 7, I think we're doing 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for any personalized questions. Everybody's waiver wire is a little bit different, team situations are different, so if you just want a little bit of advice on your waiver wires or trade questions, etc., come on and join us, hang out, and we'll get those questions answered. Hopefully you've had a moment to look at these. Let's get a quick recap of what new injuries we have after week 11. Other injuries could always pop up, but so far today, this is what we know for sure from Sunday's injuries. Monday's injuries have not happened yet. Hopefully there are none, but Monday Night Football has not happened as of the time of this recording, so that could always change anything in this video as well, and I will try to remember to come back and notate if there's anything major. I'll put that in the comments of, so-and-so is now my number one waiver wire option at running back or something. Once again, hopefully none of that. But Darnell Mooney is the big injury of the week. Hamstring injury in game, did not come back to it. I would anticipate that you would be out with him for 2 weeks. Could be more. We all know how hamstrings work. Maybe he goes on IR, then we'll have a good idea of at least how long it will be as well. So just a heads up on that. Typically, you're looking at least 2 weeks, though. Sometimes only a week. Sometimes it's very minor, and they come back immediately. Alexander Mattison and Zamir White of the Las Vegas Raiders both got injured. Alexander Mattison with an ankle injury. I would anticipate being without him for a week. Zamir White with that quad injury. 0 to 3 weeks, it really depends how severe it is. That's true, of course, of all injuries, but quads are one of those injuries that it could be incredibly minor, and he won't miss any time. So keep that in mind when we go to the running back waiver wires as well. And Tyjae Spears, he got evaluated for a concussion post-game, or was supposed to. We haven't heard anything about that, which to me typically means that he probably does not have a concussion. So we're probably in the clear here, but I still haven't heard, to the negative that he does not have a concussion. I do actually have a few more updates here. Jaguars wide receiver Gabe Davis will be missing the season with a torn meniscus or a meniscus injury, so that's no bueno. Jonathan Brooks, running back of Carolina, is fully expected to have to be playing this Sunday, and also they expect Adam Thielen to come back this week, somebody who I don't have on that list. And then Isaiah Pacheco, it seems to be trending that Isaiah Pacheco will be returning this week. Very well. Might have gotten our last game from him, unfortunately, on a down note, but we'll see. Not quite droppable yet, I wouldn't say, unless, emergencies type of situation, you could drop him in advance of that news becoming official, but it's definitely not official yet. So that does bring us on to the quarterbacks. As you can see down here, streaming quarterbacks, not a whole lot, quite a few buys this week, 6 teams on buy. So Anthony Richardson seems to take the top of the options here. These are, in this video, only going to be guys who are less than 50% owned on ESPN. So that's part of the reason why I go live, because once again, there could be guys on your available on your waiver wire that just don't meet these thresholds, and you might not know exactly what I'm thinking on them since they didn't make it into the video. But for Anthony Richardson, going up against Detroit, New England over the next 2 weeks and a bye week, It's some fine matchups for a guy who really impressed coming back, and we all know has the ceiling of, a QB1 in any given week. It's just a matter of him actually hitting that, and he did last week when the least people were playing him, after a lot of people gave up on him. So we'll see exactly how that goes moving forward, but definitely somebody who should be rostered in leagues. Drake May, not somebody who I necessarily want to be playing against the opponent this week, but after that we've got Indianapolis in a week from now, so if you want to be planning ahead, I do think that is something that you could look into, and a bye week next week. And then Derek Carr is somebody who is on a bye, so you probably don't have to spend your waiver on him, but just somebody to recall later on in the week or something if you're planning ahead yet again here. A couple of good matchups, the Los Angeles Rams and the New York Giants after that, so fine matchups. That's going to bring us on to the running backs for this week, and as I alluded to, there is a Las Vegas running back on here, Amir Abdullah. Rookie running back Dylan Laub of the Las Vegas Raiders also would be called up and would get an opportunity in this game. I really wouldn't bet on that. To me, he's very much like the Amir Abdullah replacement. He's very similar to Amir Abdullah. He wasn't somebody who I loved in the draft process, so I'm not surprised that he's been sitting on their practice squad and whatnot. But regardless of that, there is an opportunity there, so I don't want to completely ignore that name, not bring it up. But first of all, there's two ways. Amir Abdullah could be just the straight-up starter this game. I don't even know if I prefer that for him compared to Zamir White playing a little bit and Amir Abdullah playing. What I'm getting at here, even if Zamir White plays, Zamir White is another guy you could get off of the waiver wire. He would be the early down back, the 1 and 2, first and second down back. Amir Abdullah would be the third round back if both of them are healthy. The third down back, Alexander Madison, was outperforming Zamir White. Any of these guys, whenever they've had to run, have not been entirely effective. This Las Vegas run game has been very anemic all season long, so I'm not starving for that. Really what I want is the receiving work, and Amir Abdullah can do well in that role with Alexander Madison missing, so he's just kind of the guy I want, regardless of Zamir White's health. And then, of course, there's an entire list of backup running backs around the NFL that one could invest in, and many of them, should be invested in to some extent in case of an injury. It's been a really healthy running back year, though, so far. Let's bring us on to the wide receivers. First of all, this list got quite a bit shorter over the last week. There's quite a few names that we could have added on here, right? The MVSs of the world, the Christian Watsons of the world. I really don't think that those situations have changed any bit. I don't want to play them any more than I did last week, to be perfectly honest. Though, in the case of MVS, maybe a little bit. And here is why, and I almost put him onto this list, but I couldn't quite get myself to get there. Early season, we saw Rashid Shaheed find a lot of success, and we can actually go back into Derek Carr's career, the Check the Mic guys, if you're not familiar with them, formerly of PFF. They have a podcast, Check the Mic. We're going back into his career even. These deep target guys have always done quite well under Derek Carr. So there is a history of an MVS finding a higher amount of success than you might anticipate from Derek Carr. So keep that in mind here. And that's, why I don't want to completely ignore his name, but I don't want to be spending too much on the waiver wire for a guy who gets 1 to 2 targets a game, or 1 to 3. But with Rashid Shaheed's success earlier on in the season as well, if you believe in that, I don't want to, gloss over that too much either. So that is something that if you believe in it, go for it. Xavier Legette, I do think, is the one guy who could provide you with some sort of baseline that you might have some amount of faith of putting into as kind of that wide receiver 3 flex type of guy on a regular basis, potentially. I don't know if we're going to reach that, but out of the options out there, I think he has the most targets available to him, potentially. And then for Ricky Pearsall, it's been an mostly great start to his career. There's a lot of competition there, however, in San Francisco, but still somebody who I wouldn't mind having on my roster if my wide receivers aren't in the best shape. Injury, for whatever reason, he could be somebody who could help be a league winner down the stretch. So I don't want to completely ignore him either. But that's going to bring us on to the big cheese this week. It's the tight ends. There have been several tight end injuries over the past couple of weeks, so there is a need. And the market has brought us some names here. Taysom Hill just absolutely crushed last week at tight end. He is going to be on bye this week, right? So be careful about that if you're planning on using him this week. Then you're going to have to go to these other names, probably like a Will Dissly, Jonnu Smith, Jatavion Sanders. Maybe you get Taysom Hill. Maybe you don't like your tight end situation. Drop whatever you've got and then pick up Jatavion Sanders or something like that if you aren't able to get any of these other guys after the waivers run. But Taysom Hill, self-explanatory if you're not aware. I mean, he just had a monstrous game, nearly 40 fantasy points in half PPR. Absolutely killed it, and there's a lot of reasons to think that that's something that could continue to be a big threat rest of season, at least. Probably not to that kind of success regularly, of course, but still. A team that does not have many weapons, healthy, etc., Taysom Hill is a nice fit for them, and they used him well. Will Dissly, tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers, has 4 really good tight end matchups. These are all like top 8 tight end matchups coming up currently based on average fantasy points scored against them. Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, and Tampa Bay you're not seeing, but I got them listed there. There you go, Tampa Bay as well 4 weeks from now. So everything's lining up very nicely for Will Dissly to have a few good games after what was just previously a good game this last week. And then Jonnu Smith, he was on here last week, been talking about him for a little while now. He seems to have found a role with Miami, and that's not a terrible role to have. It seems to be repeating itself for the most part week after week here, so he's definitely somebody who I have a certain amount of faith in. And Jatavion Sanders, not too different than Jonnu Smith, just not as potent of an offense. Maybe not as sure of a situation either, but close to. He's been impressive. He's a rookie who's kind of been turning it on here in the second half of the season. So look for that maybe to continue to improve. And that's going to bring us on to my DSTs. As you can see the list here, my streamers, not a good week for streaming. Really, there was nothing good out there. And that's why I'm willing to take a chance on Chicago against Minnesota as my stream of the week. I'm looking for that pick 6. I'm looking for a little bit of frustration from Sam Darnold. Throw it up there in a couple of bad situations. Really good Chicago secondary could take advantage of that and maybe even return it to the house for those lovely 6 points for a DST that everybody wants. Then we got Tampa Bay going up against New York Giants. Tommy DeVito is going to be the quarterback there. I don't love this situation here. I might even say I would prefer this one. I don't know which order. This is my 2A and my 2B here. So Washington going up against Dallas. Obviously, Dallas, Cooper Kupp. Rush, right? Cooper Rush, not Cooper Kupp, and that quarterback there. Just been a rough situation for Dallas offensively, and Washington's defense has been coming on as of late. I still don't know that they really have the playmakers to make plays that you really need for fantasy purposes, but obviously it could always happen. So those are our streamers. Those are our waiver wire options this week. And once again, I'll be live tonight, so come check me on out if you have any questions you want to ask. Something new might have popped up on Monday as well. So peace out. Take care. Have a good one. I will see you with my rankings videos for each position Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, and of course live Thursday night for Start Sit questions. Bye-bye.